Death Watch.
Welcome back, everyone, to Death Watch's Call of Cthulhu Season 1, where we are journeying through the highlands near Puno to discover a lost pyramid. My name's Travis. I'll be your keeper tonight, and take it away, John.
Hi, I'm John. I'm going to be playing James Whitmire, who had a run of bad luck last session, and hopefully I can make up for it.
All right. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm playing Charles Staton, the game or the group's guide.
I'm Justin. I'm playing Lance Monroe, who is the archaeologist who's in over his head.
I'm Brandon. I'm playing Wallace Andrews, MD, a doctor delving into the mystery of murders that seem to be taking place around where he lives, and also now realizing he is over his head.
And possibly in league with a bunch of murderers.
Yeah, so last time mostly had to do with a rather hectic night where a Karisiri attacked one of your pack animals, and there was lots of gunfire, and Dr. Andrews performed an autopsy on one of the Karisiri. And we'll pick up after that, as you guys have all decided to just get on with the day. You can start to see the eastern sky lightening, and you're getting your camp broken down. You got a couple people on cooking duty, and you got tins of coffee being passed around. And I think we're all interested to know what Dr. Andrews is thinking, especially since you now have some truth to what you thought was the Karisiri myth. But maybe even more important, we're wondering what you're thinking about your traveling companions.
Right. So I spent the entire night dissecting this so-called Karisiri, and I'm left with more questions than I had to begin with, like how these physical characteristics are scientifically possible. More importantly, perhaps aided a bit by the lack of sleep, it's becoming difficult for me to reconcile the night's events with being in any way remotely related to this being a good choice for me to come on this expedition. So just the sheer ludicrous occurrence of someone biting a mule in the night, and then my companion shooting that person, and then another companion taking that moment to sneak out with a jar, which they then put on the ground and also shoot. That doesn't make sense to me at all. That's not rational things to take place. And none of them seem overly perturbed by the appearance of this Karisiri, which leads me to believe they know much more about it than I do.
Yeah, that is something to note, was the lack of shock. Even now, as Mr. Monroe hands you a cup of coffee, and he looks like...
I would actually be forgoing the coffee for handing him a bottle of gin.
Oh, okay.
And coca leaves.
Little did you know that's what his doctor's bag is.
Yeah.
Totally laid down.
And opium, like laudanum or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Monroe, I suspect, looks like an actor playing a man on an expedition. You know, maybe he doesn't totally lose his cosmopolitan bearing. Would you say that's fair, Justin?
Pretty fair. He's been on a few archaeological digs, but mostly around like old town steading sites in Massachusetts. So definitely a little outside of his normal area of expertise.
But he's taken the events in stride, it seems like. And then you have James, who is, as far as you can tell, is just an unreadable figure. And Jackson Elias has also not seemed surprised, or Charles Stanton for that matter. Of the lot of them, Charles Stanton does have a particular look in his eyes, but that was there prior to the arrival of this Karisiri myth.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I hand him the bottle, I'll say, heck of a night, wasn't it, my friend?
I'll take the bottle and I'll just say, why Are none of you surprised?
Yes, I feel I must apologize for our negligence in informing you of exactly what is going on around Puno. But in all fairness, would you have believed us if we had said so? If we had said that there were blood-sucking monsters that live within the area around it, some of them look human and some of them are a little less so.
He means fat-sucking monsters.
Yes.
Sounds
No.
even more unreasonable, huh?
So I know it's a bit of a shock to your system. We've all had the same shock, actually, just within the past few days. As it settles in on you, and I'm sure you'll have more questions, and now that you're ready for the answers, I'm sure any of us would be willing to answer them.
I'll take another drink. And that's what I plan to do is pump everyone for information about this.
Yeah, at that stage,
Because in my mind, being a doctor and an intelligent man, this thing is obviously real, but why it is not mythical. There's an explanation that probably goes over their heads, not being doctors or men of science. So that's my frame of mind there. Like, I'm still not willing to believe that it's a, mythical creature. There's some mutation or whatever.
yeah, at that point, Jackson and Marco, who had drawn breakfast duty, they come over with plates. They're balancing multiple plates, and they start passing them out to those who want some. And it's mostly your fresh, like you sliced up some tomatoes and sausages, things that are going to go bad first. And Jackson says, I've been, thinking about that, and I have something I wanted to run by you guys and get your thoughts on. But, as it seems we're drawing nearer to our goal, I guess, what I'm thinking is, are you familiar with Pascal's wager?
Yes.
Right. It's sort of an equation
Right.
as to why you should believe in the Christian God.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've been thinking about that in terms of Luis de Mendoza's story in the church of how he needed us to remove this warding from this pyramid. And we haven't really talked much about, what's going to occur when we get there. And so I guess that's how I'm framing that question. I think we should use that same equation that Pascal came up for how we approach this. I mean, what's the downside if we take his story at its absolute face value and assume that there is a warding containing somebody he calls father, and that considering the Pishtaku haven't been the kindest to us, that father would be even worse if we were to mess with this the warding. And we already know it's gold. I mean, what do you guys think? How should we approach it?
Well, I'm not familiar with Pascal's equation, and if you're going to believe that is part of the warning and his goal was, or that is part of the warding, and that his goal was to free him, why would he have told us that everything that was part of the warding? So we could walk in and leave that completely alone, but do something else to unleash this.
That's possible. I don't know. That's a very good point. His information could be compromised. I suppose the point of the wager is you get rid of all of the questions and the doubt, and you operate from the assumption that De Mendoza's story is real and everything he said is correct. And then we weigh what the downsides could be. And then we do the same with the reverse. So you create sort of an equation where you look at what the downsides are on each side, and you go with the one that's not going to lead us to Nicholas's fate, is what I'm going for. I'm as driven as the rest of you to get up there and have a look around. I mean, I don't have a book unless I do that, and I don't really relish the thought of just wasting 4 months down here with nothing to show for it.
Well, the way I kind of see it is that if he's telling the truth and we go up there, we find something, and if we remove the plating, Father comes and possibly destroys us all. If he's incorrect and we go up there and we remove the plating, then nothing happens. But if we go up there and we do nothing, then the same could happen again, is that if the Karisiri do believe that this would bring about Father, then they would just find someone else and do the same. So I think it's our duty to at least go and see.
I agree.
And if all else fails, then we destroy the area or bury it using the dynamite that Charles has procured for us, and ensure that nobody else can easily remove the warding and let loose this father character.
There's another part to his story that I wonder about. He mentioned that, 400 some odd years ago, he was up there with his conquistador pals, and they removed a section of it, presumably. Well, never mind.
Well,
if we were able to repair that, do you think it would stop this?
Well, and if it's real, maybe. As saying, you look at it the same way as we, put that or repair it, and it cuts father off from the world completely. But, or we replace it and nothing happens, we would never know. But what's to stop them if they're that dedicated? And is this a real entity behind their push to do it, or is it just a desire for them? Because if we put that back, what's to stop them from getting others? It goes back to the same thing that Mr. Monroe was saying, is they can just as easily get 4 or 5 more people to come up here and then take all of the seals. Is what if the only way to prevent it is to take all the seals and split them up?
Assuming it's true,
Yeah.
he's had 400 some odd years to enact this plan. Why is it only now that, they were able to get an expedition together? What stopped them before? What's the change?
Well, and we would need that seal anyways. And by all accounts, that's somewhere back in, where were we? What was the first town? Lima?
Lima? Yeah, we came from Lima, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as I'm sure that you've uncovered in all of your extensive research, is that there are often either cosmological events or certain timing with things that are required in order for a lot of these cults in order to enact certain rites or rituals, and perhaps there was some unknown cosmological event that is set to transpire soon that we were unaware of.
That's a good point. I had thought of that.
I'm forgetting previous sessions, but this would be the first time that I've heard references to father.
Yeah, you're getting thrown into the deep end.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just kind of.
So I'll just be like looking from face to face,
Yeah.
like not understanding.
Well, I've studied these cults, and, one of the ways that they work invariably is controlling the flow of information or concealing information. So I suppose what I'm trying to lay out here is that we're all on the same page when we get up to there, and nobody goes off and does anything that none of the rest of us want to happen, for fear, if they believe this totally. And my experience leads me to err on the side of caution and think that this is all true. So if we come to this pyramid and it's warded in some way, I suppose I don't know exactly what we're looking for. Dave Mendoza described the gold banding. Then perhaps we should all agree not to mess with that part of it.
Excuse me, Mr. Hughes, what exactly are you talking about? Now, whose father and which cult are you referencing?
Well, he looks at each of you. It was for some sort of non-verbal agreement for him to tell perhaps the whole story.
Give him the nod. Man deserves to know what he's getting in.
Well, I originally came to Peru to research the Cariceri myth. I had read about about the myth in New York and some contemporary reports about murders that matched the MO of the Pishtaku. And so I came down here just looking, because what I do is I write about various death cults across the world. And I just thought I found another one of those, because often they live out ancient stories and myths, and that's sort of the root of the cult. As to why they do it, I don't necessarily know, but it's all to achieve power of some kind, usually beyond our mortal realm, conveniently. But that's just how it works. So I came down here to discover that, and I learned that perhaps there was something more to it. And one of my contacts down here pointed out a man, this Luis de Mendoza we've been referring to, as one of the Pishtaku. So I followed him around for a few days, and he met with a man named Augustus Larkin. And he's the one who brought the rest of these guys in by putting out the call to an expedition to go up and find a lost pyramid. Well, things didn't go well with de Mendoza or Larkin, and so we split off from them. But we captured de Mendoza for a period of time and interrogated him, and he told us that he was one of the original conquistadors, from the 1500s. Mm-hmm. And he found this lost site. They pried out a section of warding, and that night they woke up with a terrible hunger that they couldn't control, and a voice that communicated to him that he referred to as Father. And apparently the reason for this expedition was to get somebody to remove the rest of that warding, as they now couldn't. Apparently they could not stand to go near it or touch it. And
okay.
That's why we're here.
Well, I like that. That makes a lot of sense to me, that this is cult behavior, regardless of the mythical and supernatural trappings. In fact, every one of the bodies I've examined on my table have borne the same mark, and many of them have been mummified, which is a process that generally is done on purpose. And that does have the trap. That does sound to me like some sort of religious practice.
Well, I've tried to rationalize it as such for a long time now, for this whole week. And every day that passes, that's become more and more impossible to do. So, Dr. Andrews, I think you should assume the threat is very real at the very least. And that it doesn't seem that, because believe me, I don't go in for this mumbo jumbo. I just find it endlessly fascinating. But I did spend the last 4 days doing the very same thing that you're about to begin, so maybe I can shortcut you off of that journey, if the events of last night weren't enough. But as I said, I'm not running the show here, so I'm putting it out there for, more determined minds to make a decision on that. I just want to know, I guess, where everybody stands. Or, I'm not, this isn't like I'm moralizing. I'm not, if they get up there and there's lots of gold, great. Who doesn't like gold? I'm just wondering what the plan is.
Well, and I would want to wait and see once I got up there, if I fully believed it.
Is there anybody or anything else anybody'd want to do with the morning before you guys set out again?
Well, but I wanted to say that just based on what I've heard, I think we should be very careful when we get there, because more likely than some father in a prison will find what sickened them that makes it impossible for them to go back, and some substance that caused them to crave human fat as their meal.
Perhaps so.
Do you think this is like a mind disease?
There are innumerable plants and that people can eat that cause them all sorts of sicknesses.
On that matter, I'm sure that you're well aware of many unique and interesting parasites that can alter a person's mental well-being. And the fat-like creature that you saw wiggle out of the deceased Kari Siri, we believe that is one of the things that takes over the body and contorts the victim.
Well, you speak of it as if it has its own higher mind.
This leech-like
yes
creature? Yes, we cut one out of a doctor that had been implanted, we assume, by a Kari Siri.
I think it was believed to be de Mendoza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll tell him about the animal that, or whatever parasite it is, that plants its eggs in the bee's head and takes over the bee and goes on suicide missions or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called, or if that's even a real thing, but that's what I'll say. Yeah, something.
It's like a fungus spore that...
Oh, yeah.
At any rate, we should be cautious that we don't fall under that we don't contract the same illness or parasite that they did when they went there.
Have any of you considered that de Mendoza looked like a regular man? I mean, I don't want to put doubt on each of you out there, but...
Well...
is it possible?
Those things in the alley looked like regular people until they didn't.
That's true. There is a change that occurs when they attack, it seems like.
And then this latest one is completely different altogether. It seemed to have lost all sense of humanity, where the others spoke and even tried to reason with us for a few moments before they attempted to murder us.
Well, going off of...
Maybe that's a new one?
Or maybe it affects them each differently.
I think Mr. Whitmire might be on something with it being an old one. Hunger can usually drive us on our more animalistic instincts.
Yes, but Mendoza was the original.
He wasn't hungry.
Yeah, and that does make more sense.
You'll be surprised what a man can do when he's hungry.
I've seen what a man can do when he's starving. It's not pretty.
Well, if there wasn't enough, it's just something for you all to chew over. But looks like it's light enough to travel. So at this point, let's get a new Constitution roll from everybody to see. For those who have not acclimated to the terrain, I believe that was just Mr. Monroe and James Whitmire.
Wow, I did horrible. Okay.
Yay. Hard success.
So the coca leaves helped yesterday?
Yeah.
Do they get bonuses from the coca leaves or anything, or is it just story stuff?
Yeah, it'll help them if they try to go do a roll, basically. But not a bonus to the Constitution roll. Because what it's doing is it's taking the edge off the fatigue, right? It's not actually treating the symptoms, or it's not treating the underlying cause, I should say.
Monroe's just too much of a city boy, not used to...
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lived at sea level my entire life, so coming up 10,000 feet is taking its toll.
James, you feel much better as you set off again, but...
One thing is, before we set out in the morning, I want to get that warding, or the rod-like warding that we found at the university. Even though it makes me extremely uncomfortable, I want to carry that in my pack today.
See if you can acclimate yourself to the warding.
No, seeing that feral one really messed with my head, thinking that that's what I may eventually become. And the only thing that seems to combat it is that warding.
You know, there is something that Charles wouldn't be able to think of, but Monroe might, and that would be potentially duplicating any of the symbols on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things happen when you go to get that out of where it was stored on the pack animals. Well, first you feel the discomfort upon your approach of being in its general vicinity. And then as you get very close to it, the darkness in your mind disappears. And as you go to pick it up, it was I believe, wrapped up in sheets or something to that effect. Yeah. Because you're not expecting it, you hold it in your hand for a little while, wondering why it feels like your hands are burning, like it's hot.
Okay.
And so you flinch, you drop it back in the bag, and you don't have any burns exactly, although the palms of your hands look raw and red, maybe like the equivalent of a sunburn.
Okay.
Now you can persist through that if you want to get it into your personal belongings.
I'm going to try and get it into my pack.
Okay. Yeah, so it's not quite enough to, in that short amount of time, to do you any actual damage, but you felt you have the distinct impression that if you were to hold on to it for longer, it would start burning.
Okay.
And it being in your pack, that dark presence in your mind is gone. But I will go ahead and give you if you can succeed at an extreme power roll, something will happen.
Oh, hard success, not extreme.
Okay. So yeah, that discomfort is just with you all through the journey, and it can act as a mental distraction, so it may have a negative impact on upcoming rolls, perhaps.
I'll keep that in mind.
All right, so yeah, you guys saw that image I posted on the tabletop there. This is what the second day of travel will look like, and so you're going through a barren, rocky landscape with, tough grasses and shrubs here and there, and very dark brown earth, and you see some peaks off in the distance, some snow-capped peaks, and that's where Charles expects their destination to be, some couple days travel ahead. Early on in the day, you guys pass a alpaca herd that they're not exactly pack animals,
but it's in their name.
Alpaca
animals.
I'll pack your bags.
But you had passed these in like farms in the early part of the first day, and usually when you saw these herds, there was somebody tending the herd.
Does this look like a wild one then?
No, it looks like a herd, but you don't see any of its tenders, any of its minders around. But you journey on, and about midday, you hear a gunshot ring out. You're coming up a hill, and you hear it ring out distantly to the south.
Any way to indicate whether it's like coming our direction, or is
It doesn't seem to be
just
coming
echoing?
at you, yeah.
Okay.
And that's up ahead of us now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you were just at the bottom of the hill. The way the land looked earlier, you think if you get to the crest, you'll have a good long stretch of land to look at.
Do we even want to bother with it?
It's in the direction we're going. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
We are going that way.
Mr. Stanton, I must defer to you on these matters.
Let's get to the hill and see if we can see anything. I guess, because I don't know if it's a distress fire or anything like that, I'll do a return one into the ground to let someone know we're out here.
Yeah, and a moment later, you hear another one. Did you guys have any kind of
With flares.
optics
Oh, I think that might just come down to a...
luck roll? Yeah, let's get one from you, Charles. Anybody have a scope on their rifle that they wrote down?
No.
Okay.
The rifle.
All right. So, are you going to stop the procession and move up to the crest with a few people, or by yourself, or just continue on?
Well, for the most part, I don't know. Like, they could be hunting.
Right.
So I was just doing a shot to make sure someone knows we're out there. So I see no reason to stop the procession, and we just need to keep going.
Okay. So at the crest of the hill, you see two figures over by a boulder. One is standing over another lying down, and that's pretty much all you can see from this distance. They're about a half a mile away, you would figure.
In front of us?
Yeah.
I don't like the look of that. All right. I'll go on ahead. Whoever wants to come with me can. Ray, Marco, stay with the pack.
I'll go with you. So, do you go on gun now? Or
I have a rifle.
okay.
It's not...
Yeah, I'll
It doesn't really go gun
just
in with a rifle.
have
Might
my
look
hand
kind of
on
funny.
it.
Yeah. Jackson will volunteer. He says, probably going to want a way to talk to them, whoever they are.
Indeed. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I speak Spanish, too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we got a bunch of translators.
Okay, so as the three of you approach, it starts to resolve the image of these two figures. You start to see are a man and a boy. Basically, the boy is the one who's laid out on the ground, and he seems to be in some distress. Now, as soon as the man catches sight of you, he points his rifle at you, and he starts shouting Spanish. And Jackson says he doesn't want us to come any closer.
Why?
He's just saying, stay back, stay back.
Tell him we can help. We have a doctor.
So he shouts Spanish back at the man. But even though there's some distance, you can kind of see that he's in a panic. So the words don't seem to take with him.
How much time would we lose if we just have to go around this guy?
Not much.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Jackson, inform him that we're going to be going around, but our destination lies past him.
Okay. So he says something, hands up, placating, and just saying that they're gonna go a different direction. And the whole time while you guys retreat back to your pack animals and the rest of your group, he just has his rifle trained on you guys. But nothing happens.
Okay.
And you circle around him.
I don't like that.
What did you see?
A
What
man
happened?
and a boy. He seemed rather panicked.
Oh, yeah, I suppose I should give the opportunity for any
Do you think
dissent.
he shot that kid?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, if I find out that like there's a kid who could be hurt, then I'm gonna go see if I can help.
That's right, you're
Doc.
oath-bound.
He doesn't want us close. He's
Threatening to shoot?
threatening with his rifle.
I'm convinced I can
Does at least let me go with you then.
persuade.
I might be able to persuade.
I am
but
convinced I can persuade him.
All right. We'll continue on We won't go too far.
Okay.
And
We'll catch up.
if you aren't back soon, I'll send someone back for you. Oh.
If I'm not back soon, then I'll begin walking in ever-widening circles.
I understand, Mr. Andrews.
Yeah, so I want to, go over and see. Like, I'll have my hands up, and
Okay, so it's
I speak Spanish, and so I'll say, "Let me help if I'm a doctor.
yeah. So he's
Don't be scared."
as you approach again, he had turned back to the boy lying on the ground, and he's kind of picking over his clothes, but you can not like he's trying to rob him, but you just see he's in a state of panic, and
Like
He
he
just
might be trying to help him.
yeah, he
and
just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But as you hail him, he turns around, frantically grabbing his rifle again and trains it on you, shouting out the word "stay back," which what your Spanish was like 50.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's no problem for regular communication.
Yeah. So I'll hold up my hands. I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm a doctor and I can help.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get the persuade roll out there.
I'll luck it.
Okay. Or you can always push.
Pushing's fun.
Yeah. How do I do that?
You just roll again, but what's going to happen is if you fail again, then
He's going to shoot
you flubbed it up and he's going to take his shot. That's
Okay.
that's what you're risking.
Yeah.
Just luck it.
So,
It's a lot of luck. That's almost all of mine.
Do you
Doctors
get
were born with extra luck.
do you get check mark if you push?
Yeah.
So you get your persuade up potentially.
yeah, I'll try to I'll try to push. I'll like hold out my rosary. This is like a Catholic
Right,
country,
yeah.
right? So I'll say something like,
And the power of Christ compels you.
something,
Yeah.
whatever saint likes to heal people or whatever, No, I'll
Yeah.
try it again.
Oh,
it's even
and
worse.
well,
So where are we when this shot rings out?
Are you going to die again?
I might, but I'm a doctor. I got to try and help.
not far. He does fire off, but you can see he purposefully aims over your head, like he really doesn't want to hurt you.
Okay.
James, I suppose you have an opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
What do you try to fast talk him?
I don't speak the language, but
Yeah, well, we can do it through.
if I can, then I'll give that a shot. Try and do some type of pantomiming.
So is that what you want to? Is that what you're trying to do? Is the fast talk method?
So, is it clear to me that he purposefully missed that shot?
Yeah,
Okay, then yes.
yeah. It was well aimed above. Okay, so actually, I need a hard success for that. Sorry, I forgot to put that out there because you're doing it through. You're getting him to say the words that you're saying. So you would need 35 or lower. If you're looking at spin and luck, that's 7 points.
I could do that.
Or you can push.
Not quite.
All right, so using a little bit of luck, we'll just say you had a friendlier way of going about it. Like maybe there was too much conviction or something in Dr. Andrews' approach that it alarmed this man, but he allows you to come closer, basically. He says, my son is wounded, is what he's saying.
Well, you had your chance. Forget it. Yeah, so I'll keep my hands where he can see him. I don't want him to shoot me. I'm pretty nervous about him, but I'll go inspect his son.
Okay, so you see on this boy's chest a very familiar wound, that disc-shaped wound.
Oh, okay.
But you haven't seen somebody in this state. It looks like he looks malnourished, but by the fit of his clothes, like it just happened recently. That, or maybe the clothes weren't fitted to him. But, yeah,
Because just like the mule had lost a bunch of...
yeah, he looks wasted. Yeah.
I'm familiar with this site from the university, right?
Well, you saw the mummified one, yeah.
But
I saw the one upstairs too. I ran past him.
The one.
Well,
no, that's where they implanted the larva.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm going to tell him right away that it's another one of those things from last night. It's got to be around here somewhere. That's what did this bite.
Since the
fish tacos
inside of him now.
Oh, well,
If you want to help him,
he might very well, but he
No.
also got bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Just-
working off the assumption that this is what they had cut out, like whatever the thing was that got implanted. That it was what we had cut out of the doctor, right?
Right. But
So
something
this is
did the
a wealth
implanting.
of misinformation for you to know, but not the doctor. Right?
Well,
Anyway, keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
you can hear him in the background as you go to apply first aid, which you can roll now. Just a regular success for that. You can hear him babbling about the Pishtaku even before you guys mention it in your conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and as the reason as to why he was wary
Right.
of you. because
Bunch of white guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's while I'm working. That's what I'll ask him. Where is it? Where did it go?
He points off to the south.
Okay.
Did you hit it? Well, pointing his gun in the south.
Yeah. Did you hit
Kinda
it?
like-
Did
He says no.
you missed?
No, they
How-
fled.
How many were there?
There were two.
2?
We said that the odd thing, though, is they just looked like people that live up here.
Could I use a spot hidden?
People
to
you
see if
recognize?
Nobody I knew.
I could see any tracks.
Yeah, you could do that.
Do you want regular?
Yeah, just a regular success.
So I got a hard success on his first aid. So we'll just like have my bag and try to, I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, you successfully get the wound patched up as best you can.
I do want to keep an eye out for any moving.
Yeah, I'll
Skin.
keep watch.
Yeah.
I'll let him know as well. This is once I can't find any footprints.
Yeah, and your examination doesn't bear out, any strange foreign entities moving in the body cavity or anything like that.
Okay.
You think he could definitely benefit from continued medical help from you,
Okay.
but that's the kind that would take
yeah,
more
that'd be
time.
medicine instead
And,
of first aid.
You're not sure if he'll pull through without it, but at least he's not going to die right now.
Okay.
Because his body just looks wasted. Whatever this attack does just devastates
So
the
just,
fat
like,
and the muscle.
emaciated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so your continued medicine would be a very strict regimen of broth and stuff to build this back up.
Yeah. Milk and cheese.
Yeah.
Butter.
But yeah, he says, "Will you help me carry him to my house? It's not far from here."
Yeah. I'll pick him up.
Okay.
Like,
And he's light, like
whatever
you would
safe
expect
way. Yeah.
somebody of his age, which he looks like just about to be a teenager, 12, 13, something like that, to weigh more than he does. But when you pick him up, he's really light.
Okay.
Ask him if he's familiar with this area
Yeah. So that's what I'll say.
and the path up ahead.
I'll say to Whitmire, his son isn't going to make it unless I spend some more time. And he says he lives nearby. So we're going to take him there. So I think he does know the area quite well. What questions do you have for him?
Well, what I want to know, are there any splits or forks that we need to be aware of up ahead that these guys could possibly take?
Right.
And then also, how far off the trail does he live so we can leave them some type of tracks to follow? Because I think this is going to be long enough that Stanton's going to send someone for us.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask him those things.
So he indicates that he lives to the southeast, so it would be somewhat in the same direction that you're traveling.
Okay.
We said you guys should reach it by about the time you guys would break for camp.
Okay.
So it is a few hours off. As to the area, if you ask about, what's to the south, he says you shouldn't go that way. It's bad.
Right.
It's haunted.
But are there any forks, splits?
Well,
Yeah, he might not have even ever gone there because it's haunted.
he said his house was in roughly the same direction we're headed, right?
Yeah.
And that it's about a distance of where we would be making camp.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could just camp at camp near his house.
Well, I guess the real question, when he fired that shot to these guys.
Yeah. Charles did ask that question, and you had not gotten far enough away to not hear the shot. So what do you want to do with the rest of the...
I probably would send Marco or Ray,
Okay.
or both of them perhaps, to go investigate.
All right, so with those two moving, they're not burdened by carrying even a lighter than normal older child. They do manage to catch up to you guys. They trace your steps from where you left. at some point, Marco and Ray.
So I'll, and I'm gonna be trying to leave a very obvious trail, right? Like scuff my foot along a little ways, and then walk normal, scuff it along again. But when I see them coming, I'll let Wallace know that I'm gonna go explain the situation to these guys so that it doesn't slow you down.
Okay.
And then I'll head back over there, kind of waving at him.
No, Ray will actually tell Marco to head back with you, and he'll go with Wallace. Okay. All right, so the two of you travel on for a ways, and the farmer, who says his name is Domingo Cespedes, he says a little bit more about the land, and that you can see the foothills next to those peaks. And he says nobody who farms the area or has herds in the area goes into those foothills.
Okay.
That's where the Pishtaku come from. But as the late afternoon approaches, you arrive to a little farmstead where he's growing, it looks to be potatoes.
Okay.
And
an honorable crop.
Right.
I like this land even more.
All right, so you've arrived at this little farmhouse, and he directs you inside where you lay the boy on a bed, and a woman comes out of an adjacent room, and she starts hollering in Spanish and adding to the panic, and the man soothes her. She calms down somewhat as you attend to him. So you can go ahead and give me your medicine roll if you are willing to stay by his side for the rest of the evening and throughout the night.
Yes.
Okay.
Is he conscious, the child?
He's in, but the pain is sort of making him unable to communicate.
Yeah.
He's just sort of writhing as you go about. You touch him in places, and he just seems to be hurting.
Good thing your pack is full of drugs.
Yeah. All right, where are you? Medicine?
100 cc's of gin.
And Ray starts going through their cupboards and stuff without invitation, looking for something to drink.
I got you too, Ray.
I'll spend luck on that.
Okay.
I didn't mean to roll luck.
All right, so you just stay by his side, and with a little luck, you think he's going to make it by about midnight. And you feel like, what's up?
Was the pun intended?
With a little luck?
Yeah.
For the rest of you guys, Charles, at some point, James and Marco come trotting up, and they relay the information. With James's description of what the farmer said his homestead was out, you think you would only lose a little bit of time if you were to deviate there. So I'll leave it up to you guys to discuss.
The doc's going to stay there all night, so...
I'm not worried about him, but it seems to be about in the correct way. Perhaps the doctor will see it in his heart to reward us with some sort of pack animal.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask the farmer after I've got his kids settled if those were his alpacas and tell him we're making a journey.
So, I'll...
And like I talked to him, when we come back, I can bring it back, whatever,
He seems perplexed at the concept of the alpaca carrying anything for you.
Don't.
He says that
it's in the name, sir.
Well, he kind of points to one of them out the window, and we just use them for meat and for their their fur.
Don't they use these things to carry sometimes? I thought.
Anybody got a phone? Can they Google this question? Is an alpaca a good pack animal? He just insists that they won't be any good, but
a pack animal.
He pulls a cross out, on a necklace from his shirt, and he says that he owes you, and he'd help you. I can carry. I got a strong back.
Oh, okay.
Oh no! It says here immediately they are too small to be used as pack animals. First line.
What? Okay, well, they need to change the name.
They're bred exclusively for fiber and meat.
Well, how much smaller than a mule are they?
Quite a bit smaller.
Yeah,
once you get rid of their fur.
32 to 39 inches, weigh 106 to 185 pounds.
It's possible they can't be trained. Like, they might just lay down when you put the load on them, and they're like, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
But we'll go with that. He just thinks it would be absurd to even try it.
Right.
But he does offer. He says, you shouldn't go into those foothills, but I owe you. And he crosses himself, and he'll make an oath
No,
if
sir.
necessary.
Thank you, but your son will need you.
We need cannon fodder.
Yeah, Travis is trying to give us a sacrificial lamb to.
Canary in the coal mine, Mr. Andrews.
This is like the two guys that were with Indiana Jones in the beginning of the first one,
Or the mummy with
Right.
the guys that open up the tomb and get hit with that acid stuff.
You need somebody to be able to, like, hey, go over there and look in that pot.
See if his wife will come with us too.
And the kid.
He
wait a
seems to be offering it based off his religious convictions, but you also, when you decline his offer, he seems relieved as well that he can stay here with his son. But prior to the end of your medicine work there, we'll say, just as night is about to fall, the rest of your companions arrive.
Yeah.
Charles in the head.
Yeah, I'll begin giving orders to make camp. We're going 3 people on watch tonight, and we are also making sure the mules are inside camp this time.
Yeah, he has it's not a barn exactly, but it is a shelter that's long and low, but it's enough that you guys could all get under it
Okay.
if you wanted. And he directs you all to that area, and he could take somebody in the house,
Well, yeah, I imagine I'll stay there in case
Okay.
his son.
so you're close.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Marco on the way there. Does he know any sort of simple alarm systems, like cans that making cans rattle?
Oh,
or
to set up.
snares, something like that?
Yeah.
Alpacas and llamas can only carry a third of their body weight.
So they're
So
weak,
not much.
weak-legged
But
too.
if we get the whole herd, maybe we can carry a tent.
Let's see what Marco comes up with for you.
It
And
does.
they don't have straight backs,
It-
so things will fall off all the time.
It might not have to be right now. I'm talking about when we're out in the wilds again, something that could set us up for warnings. And
Yeah, he can think of something.
all right, Marco.
He can do it right here too, because there's a bunch of natural choke points with fences and whatnot. And also, the good Domingo's wife comes out with bowls of a thick, hearty stew that she passes out to each of you.
Do they have little fat leeches in them trying to?
No, it looks, potatoes and
Potatoes.
some sort of meat,
Well, thank you,
Alpaca,
ma'am.
probably.
Yeah, alpaca meat.
And it does prove to be delicious. All right, so we're going to do 3 people on watch at all times. Are you just going to split that into 2 shifts over the night?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll take whichever one seems to be the more grueling of it, I guess. Maybe this
I'll
one.
take first.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll put you and James and Marco up for the first set.
We're
Go
never going to
Roy or Ray.
get. You'll never wake up Ray for the second.
Yeah.
Name
Yeah,
Ray
so
Boss.
I'll talk to his wife
Okay,
and explain to her that she's going to need to feed him
a lot.
infinity food.
Okay.
Was he looking better by the time we got there at all?
Yeah,
calmed down or
it
anything?
seems as though Dr. Andrews has gotten him to stop being in so much pain, but he still does look pretty wasted. And then for the second one, that would leave. So you're going to take Ray. You're changing my name. I'm going to start calling him Roy here. So you're going to take Ray and you and James for the first one, and then
Yeah.
So we'll do Marco, Jackson, and I guess that leaves you, Mr. Monroe. Charles, I suppose, tells you're going to be on watch for the second watch.
Yeah, I'll actually expect him to assign me.
Okay.
'Cause, Yeah, I don't.
Wake it.
Is there anything specific you guys want to do during the night or during your watches, or should we just go to the morning?
Do the mask if I have the privacy.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who would. I guess we're in a barn, not a tent.
You're in a shelter, more
Okay.
like. It's not closed on all sides. It's more like an overhang
Yeah.
where the alpacas can get under and crop and drink water and that sort of thing.
You'd
Which they
still
do.
probably put up a tent.
Yeah, you can if you guys want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the privacy of your tent, go ahead and give me a power roll.
I probably would have put him and Monroe in the same tent. 'Cause I distrust them both.
Which means that I would have the other artifact in there with us.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, you guys are in the same, well, at different times, though, with the watches. All right, so roll the 1d7 for me twice.
I like those spies, apparently.
All right, so in this now familiar process of visions in the mirror, you are in a series of endless, or they seem endless, dark tunnels filled with the roars and cries of wild beasts. They seem to be echoing at you from every direction. And it's not until you're out of the fixation of this vision that you realize it bears a resemblance to one that Monroe had described to you.
It's basically one of those kaleidoscope goggles.
Yeah.
Shows you the same thing over again.
But, there's just not much more to make out from it. And go ahead and give me your sanity roll. We got to be getting close to capping you out. So you lose 1d3 sanity, I think.
Nice.
Let me see.
Oh, wait. I got 2, 5, 6. So you actually don't lose any sanity.
Oh.
Just remind me of that when you do it again, that for now you're
Okay. I'm going to mark that down here.
you're
in a note.
immune to its losses. But yeah, like the time that you saw, you got when you fixed the image of the naked man painting on the wall, how you got it, there was like kind of a stutter or a skip, and then you came back. You were going down that hallway again, or this tunnel again.
I'll spend some time contemplating if it was a reset, like with that, or if I got disoriented in the tunnel and started over. Or is it a very clear reset
It
point?
seems more like a reset.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the morning dawns with the alpaca doing its customary cock-a-doodle-doo. And you guys get ready to leave and set out on the third day of your journey, which early on you reach those foothills that you had seen so distantly the day before. Hold on one sec.
Do I have to make a sanity check? Because I know alpacas don't cock-a-doodle-doo.
Oh, there it is.
As we get closer to the foothills, I'll bring up what Nera had told us about the Machacuna,
Okay.
that there's supposed to be caves up in these foothills in these mountains with what will appear to be deceased bodies, but they are not. They're cursed beings that if you disrupt their body, then I can't remember exactly what it was she told us would happen, but it wasn't good. Maybe Jackson can.
Yeah, she just said that apparently they were cursed to work the earth for the sins they had committed in their life, and evidently they wouldn't bother you if you didn't bother them. But if you did bother them, she described it as being, well, not good, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, so about just after you guys take your lunch break, you've been traveling along a ridge, and off to your right as you travel with those peaks rearing up ever closer to the south, there's a little ravine, and far distant, well, go ahead and give me a spot hidden roll.
Everyone? Or
Yeah.
Oh.
Yay! Check mark.
I don't think I succeeded at anything in like 2 or 3 game sessions.
I extremely succeeded.
I
everybody
succeeded
but-
hard, or did I hardly succeed?
All right, so you see two, it could have been easy to miss, but there's some thick brush growing in this valley, and you see 2 figures moving along the floor, partially obscured by that. Everybody but Lance is able to pick that out. You would say it's about as distant as you saw the farmer and his son the day before, so roughly half a mile down in this ravine.
Do I do another constitution check today?
Oh, yes. Good. Sorry.
So chewing on coca leaves again. I'm going to be addicted by the time we leave.
So, yeah, what do you, let's see who, so, sharp-eyed Dr. Andrews is probably the first to spot it. 2 figures moving in a ravine.
Look there. 2 figures down in the brush.
Oh yeah, I see those.
Where?
Right there. Follow my finger.
I'm gonna do that thing where you like get
Uh-huh.
right in front of his face so you can try and line it up with his eyes.
Yeah.
So how are they moving about? Shambling, walking normal?
Does it look like they're trying to be...
cartwheels?
It looked like they were sticking to the brush for stealth.
Mhm.
It's probably that farmer and his boy. Oh no! Hopefully he doesn't speak English.
Yeah, so I'll point them out. Looks like they're trying to stay hidden.
Warning shots into their chests.
So, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Whitmire, what exactly do we have there? What what do they look like? Like, what are they?
Human shaped?
Yeah, they're obviously two.
Looks like two people trying to stay hidden.
We're sticking in the brush.
Yeah.
Without getting closer or binoculars or something, you're just not going to get more details.
Well, looks like I'll fire a warning shot. I'll aim at one of them where I think they're hiding in the bush. Where
Okay.
they'll point out.
Two. Should we all warning shot? All right. Just saying. Be one heck of a warning if we all did it.
I'm not allowed to touch weapons.
Are you
after I-
rolling to hit or just...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he did. Is that your
so.
elephant gun?
No.
Oh.
He doesn't have that out yet.
Well, at that range, you needed an extreme success. So when that's the case, you don't get extreme damage. You only get it on a critical. So just roll regular damage.
All right.
Warning shot.
Hey, I got shot by a warning shot in the last campaign.
It fits Charles's character. He's cruel, and this would be something he'd do. I mean, you're sneaking after my party. So, yeah, after the warning shot, I'll kind of yell out, come forward, or there's more where that came from.
The
All right.
next one's a kill shot.
The one you were aiming at drops,
Tell your friend to get up or I'll shoot you too.
and the other one takes off running.
I'll try to take a shot at that if I got time.
Okay, add a penalty die to this one, and you need an extreme success.
Okay. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to switch that to skills. Sorry. Nope. Blast.
Yeah, so it seems to disappear into the grass at some point or the shrubs at some point,
Well,
and you lose a bead on it.
good eyes, Mr. Andrews. Keep them open. Perhaps we'll get a second chance. As for the one we shot, he'll be getting up soon. How far away are they?
Are we even certain
Half a
that it
mile,
was a
right? So
car
I'll be
series?
like, how do you even know that was... right?
Oh, yeah, that's true, I guess. So.
That could have just been another farmer.
Yeah.
Well, I'll change what I said. Well,
Farmers
let's go see
don't
what
do
I
that.
hit.
Yeah.
Why would a farmer be creeping about?
Because we could be Kari Siri.
Mr. Marco, keep the expedition moving forward.
You want me to
Ray?
go with you?
Come with me. Yeah, if you wish,
Yay.
Mr. Whitmire.
Yeah, I'd like to learn a little bit of bushcraft.
Well, I'm going to come too, because if it is a farmer, then maybe I can save him.
Always welcome, Mr. Andrews. So, yeah.
Okay, give me a spot hidden as you near the area where you think they went down.
They should have spot. Dang it! I keep doing that. They should have spot hidden on the Dodge
Yay.
combat page too. I don't. Okay.
Nice. He knows right where his kill is.
can't see
too
him
much of
anywhere.
a panic to try and get to him.
You just shot a person.
Where is he? Where's the body? Right there.
All right, James and Charles, you catch a figure trying to move stealthily in the brush.
From the direction that the thing ran.
No, right up where you thought you had downed
Oh,
this one.
Yeah,
I'll take a
quick
shot
draw.
at it.
Okay.
Quick draw and fire away. Or I
This
guess-
one's just at regular.
I'm sorry, could I do a luck roll to see if I had drawn my pistol?
Ah, dang it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, did that.
Nice. Oh, it's like that's to
Yay.
see if you drew.
Yeah, so go ahead. You can take
Definitely had my gun ready.
your shot, James.
All over the place with these rolls.
Oh, I never.
So this other one's like it's attacking us or coming towards
It
us?
was trying to move away. You didn't spot it.
Well.
So that suddenly they started shooting into the brush.
Yes, as a great hunter that I am, all wildlife is always coming right at me.
Okay.
All right, go
Nice.
ahead and roll damage on it. And at this distance, you can see it's a woman.
Don't know how I feel about taking a doe and
All right, so you wing her, but she keeps now she just goes into a full run trying to get away from you guys.
3 rounds.
Can I get another
Well,
shot?
it's Wallace's turn.
Okay. So yeah, there's a fleeing woman now, Brandon.
What must he think of us? Anything that moves, we shoot. Except for the old guy.
And did this one have any, like, the facial signs of facial deformities of the
Is this
Karisiri?
the one I had shot?
You think so?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so it got up and
These
it's running.
things are hard to
Yeah.
kill. It took
So
a
you can
lot just
see
to
it.
kill the ones in the alleys.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm not...
Maybe it took
Can
a
I
lot
see
for
that
you.
it is a Karisiri?
You can see it's a woman. Her facial features, as near as you can tell, look normal. She's wearing dress you would expect to see in Puno.
Does this look familiar?
Oh yeah.
Is this the same one as the alley?
No,
Okay.
she's this woman's much younger.
Well, I'm not going to do anything.
All right, then we'll have Charles go again. Oh, nice.
Does this one get the, was it piercing not piercing?
Yeah, the impale.
impale.
So for that, it's what? I forget what it is.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, I rolled 2d4. Whoops. But I'll take those 4s.
All right, but it's 2d6 plus 2?
It's 2d6 plus 4.
Okay. So her head pops like a melon, leaving only, bits of hair attached to the pieces of the skull that remained attached to the neck, and then she drops into the brush.
Good shot, Mr. Stanton.
Thank you. I'll rack the bolt, and I'll say, well, let's burn the body. Can't have her getting back up.
Yeah, and as you stand over her body, you can see her belly is distended.
It looks like maybe a bastard in the womb.
Perhaps. Perhaps she's full of slugs.
That too.
Yeah, I'll...
Is there any part of her jaw left that I can examine?
Can we see it starting to knit itself back together at all?
It takes a little
It takes a while.
Okay.
No, there's just a little bit of the jaw attached, and it's still looks normal, like a human.
Right. Why are you two so sure that this is a pish taco? There's nothing about her identifies her as pish taco. This could just be a local farm wife. He blew her head off.
Mr.
As
Andrews,
we get the fire ready, watch.
Mr. Andrews, I don't give any damns whether or not this is a Kirisari or not. Shouldn't have been sneaking after my expedition. She's now far away and removed as any sort of problem.
But to put your mind at ease, like I said, as we ready a fire, watch. As her wounds will start to heal themselves, even without a head.
You can give me a medicine roll as you look over the apparent corpse, Wallace.
A good night for me.
Use 2 luck.
Yeah, it's 2 away.
Yeah, I'll just use luck.
All right, so you've dealt with your, a fair number of pregnancies, and you can say definitively that this is not the case. Her belly is swollen, not with pregnancy. Like the location's all wrong.
Okay.
I was mishearing what you're saying at first. I thought you were saying your fair share of like wounds,
Right.
Like, and this is not a pishtaku wound. Is what I finished that sentence in my head.
But so she has a shot that took her in the chest from Charles's initial shot. She had the second one from Charles that blew up her head, and then you can see James winged her on the arm a bit. And you're just not sure what the swelling in her belly looks. You would kind of compare it to malnutrition almost.
Okay.
Although she doesn't look gaunt exactly to go along with it.
Right. Okay. Well, as it turns out, this does appear to be a pish taco, and this is not pregnancy here. This is what happens with extreme malnourishment. Although
Perhaps.
she doesn't seem malnourished.
Well,
otherwise.
I think that you should stand well back from the stomach then as we burn it.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for that, Mr. Andrews. My conscience is clear, I guess. Light her up.
All right. Yeah, I'll. I guess I would have built, stacked up some wood around her with the help of Marco or Ray. Who do we have?
Oh, we're quite a ways behind you.
No, we have Ray.
Ray. Okay. Yeah. So
Marco's leading
me and
you.
him can get that together and then start fire it up and stand well away.
So you guys build a pyre for her to burn her, and you light it up, and she goes up.
Guns at the ready, just in case anything happens to dart out.
Of course, this fire that you can make on the fly here isn't nearly like hot enough to reduce her to ash, so it just, burns off all the soft, easy burning bits and leaves a bunch of scorched bones behind.
Yeah.
Anything squirming around in the ashes?
Not that you saw as you watched.
Okay. We're going to just have to hope that works.
If we have anybody have any oil in their pack from one of the lamps, or is that all on the mule?
I say it's best we keep that rationed as much as possible. We'll just hope that, at the very least, she has to take a while to regenerate if that's still happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's catch up to Marco and Mr. Monroe.
I want to take a look around, I guess, as we're doing the fire and then as we leave, if I can, just to see if I can see that other one. So first one was while we're building the fire. Second one was right before we leave.
Well, I don't need a couple of spot hiddens. You're just trying to find some indication of its passage from here.
No, I want to know if it's watching us.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to actually see it.
Well, I don't even need a roll because it does. You don't see it anywhere around. Yeah, just remember, I'll call for him if I need it specifically.
All right, let's catch up to the expedition.
Yeah, so you guys catch up with the other people, and you head into the foothills. And at this point, navigation becomes a little bit difficult to keep your bearing as you're kind of skirting around some of these steep inclines. So I need a navigate roll and a constitution roll from everybody. Yeah, I believe you have a penalty. Or no, you're chewing the coca leaves.
Yeah, I'll spend 2 luck.
Yeah,
And in normal fashion, I fail spectacularly.
spend a luck on my constitution.
Navigate.
Can we do that, right?
On a constitution, yeah.
I navigated the crap out of that one.
No, dang it.
I got a check mark.
I think I already have a check from Navigate still.
That makes me so mad. How much is that?
Jeez.
11? No, 12? No, 21?
Oh, to luck your
91 to
navigate?
72.
Push it.
19.
19. I could push it. I'll push it.
Okay.
There we go.
That's good, because I don't think I would have been confident enough to call his bluff.
That's how it always works with me. Remember when we were, what were they called? The
Jenkins brothers.
Yeah, the Jenkins
brothers.
boys.
All right, so you guys are able to keep your bearing. Each of you did pretty well on those navigate rules, so give yourself a check, and you all sort of course correct each other. And initially it seems like Charles is going to override the course correcting, but with his pushed roll, he succeeds and you guys go the right direction. However, it looks like a lot of you are lagging as far as the terrain has just become so difficult that it's sapping your energy and slowing you down.
As I used luck to succeed.
Oh, on the Constitution? Mm-hmm. So you're doing well as far as that goes.
Yeah, because I was 2 away, so...
I was 33 away.
All right, so you're...
I started this game with like 85 luck.
You're traveling amongst those foothills, and you see a rather large peak with a lower part that's sort of a broad plateau, and you're circling around that, but you still have to climb elevation, and that's where the difficulty comes from. So you get up on this ridge next to this peak that overlooks a plateau, and that's when you suddenly realize that you're all looking at structures on this plateau, or a structure. So you see there's like, you pick it out first, Mr. Monroe. It looks to be like a stone wall that's surrounding this entire site on the plateau. You didn't notice it initially because it's partially buried by silt, that has crept up along to the structure, but then you pick it out.
Is it similar to that picture that we had of the gate?
Sort
The
of.
sun gate?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to tell at this range because you're overlooking it. You can see that on the east side of it, there's a rectangular entryway. It just sort of looks like a hole in the wall in the silt. And you see a path circling around from that ridge that goes on to the peak and comes down into this structure. However, just looking at it, it's going to take some doing to get the pack animals along that path.
Okay.
But that seems to be the only approach besides, scaling the walls of the plateau at the base of the peak there.
So I'm sorry, we have to go through this building?
Well, it looks like a structure. It's caught Monroe's attention. You can see it looks like the main part of the structure appears to be the upper part of a pyramid. Let me switch you guys.
And is this what we're here for?
You think so?
And we're getting on.
You expected it a little further on from where the mark was made, but this is definitely an old structure.
Maybe it's a decoy.
So as you guys can see, I've put you up there on. You're not quite there. You're more to the north, overlooking this whole area. But this is roughly the approximation of what that structure looks like.
And does the trail appear to continue after this at all, from what we can see?
So this trail that's going up to that gate, this is coming down from a peak. So what you would have to do is you'd have to travel up onto the shoulder of that peak and then come down the trail to the plateau that these structures are on. Otherwise, you would have to scale from the base of the peak up the plateau.
So can we kind of see where the origins of this road are up on that peak?
No.
But would that location, like the direction of where that road is going, fit more with the location that we were given?
It looks like the path was cut into the mountainside to reach the plateau. It doesn't look like it's going up the mountain necessarily. Yeah. It's a way to get down to the plateau.
Maybe there's a passage inside.
Perhaps.
That cuts into the mountain. That'd be odd, but I mean,
it would fit with the stories.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, might as well go check it out. Or, who knows? Maybe they were off on the map.
Well, it was a rough sketch made by a very old woman. So we're kind of up above the plateau, right? And we can kind of look down at it.
Yeah. From your vantage point, you would travel down to the base of the mountain. If you were to continue south, you actually have to skirt around up the shoulder of that peak and then down the path into the plateau. That looks like the most likely way to do it. But as I said, from your distance, that path looks pretty precarious, and it could be difficult, requiring a skill check to get your animals down there.
And I'm sorry, I guess I'm having some trouble picturing this. So there is a second way to get down there.
There's the path or
skirting.
Scaling.
Okay.
Scaling the...
How long would it take to use the path, does it look like? Or
you could reach it before nightfall.
Okay.
But it would be nightfall by the time you got into the structure.
And
what
about if we did the scaling? And assuming everything went right, would we shave a considerable amount of time off?
I don't think I saw much in the way of climbing as far as skills amongst the group. Does anybody have that?
No, not really.
So you would be doing it as a, someone who doesn't know about climbing.
Okay, so I would say let's take the path.
Yeah, I can't succeed on something I'm technically an expert at, so.
Plus, we can't leave the pack animals.
Yeah.
But from where we are, can I see any kind of signs of excavation or any sign that it's been disturbed recently?
No, it doesn't look disturbed in the sense that somebody's excavating it. And at where you're looking at it, you wouldn't see, or at least you don't see any signs of like a camp or anything like that. And with your archaeological background, the silt buildup around the walls means it's been here for a while.
Yeah.
And, you got 5 steps of that pyramid, that main structure in the center with a flat top. And you can't quite estimate the size of each of those steps, but they look pretty big.
What was the temple was a pyramid, right? Was
Yeah.
it completed? Did we
Well,
ever figure that out?
You know, the pyramids in South America don't go to a point.
But yeah, but I mean, did they stop after 5 steps?
Could have.
Well, you can also guess that perhaps much of it's buried.
Yeah.
And we are sure this is the proper location, Mr. Monroe?
Go ahead and throw your archaeology roll out there, though.
Because I was expecting this to be actually in the mountains? Or
Right.
Okay.
Yay!
Nice.
I'm reasonably certain that even though this isn't the location, there could be tunnels underneath it, or this could only be showing a small portion of it that leads to the area that we're looking for. But this does, in fact, fit the descriptions that she had mentioned of the temple.
Well,
Yeah.
I take it as a sign of good luck.
You can, looking at those walls, the portions sticking up above the dirt, you can see they really resemble the walls found at Tiwanaku. So you feel fairly certain that this might be from the same group of people that built that site.
Well, looks like we might be able to reach the top of the trail by nightfall. I suggest we get going so we can camp there.
And as you guys are looking down there, you see a figure clamber up the far edge of that pyramid onto the top. And it walks to the center, and it gets down on its hands and knees, and it appears to begin vomiting onto the top of the pyramid.
Is it within range to shoot?
Yeah, I think you could. The D&D answered everything.
The Charles Stanton answered everything. It walks and it's not in my party, let's kill it.
You're sure this is the temple, Mr. Monroe?
As sure as I possibly can be in a foreign land.
Well, gentlemen, if there is another excavation party here, we'd have to clear them out anyway, so might as well get started. I'll say unslinging my rifle, looking around.
Or more fish tacos. As I'll
I
draw
don't.
my sidearm.
Well, let me just lodge the possibility that that's not a fish taco we're about to shoot.
I think I
The
already
normal
mentioned that
people
it
do
probably
this.
wasn't.
Who else in your life have you known to climb up to the top of a pyramid that's worshipped actively by a cult just to vomit?
I did that yesterday. And I'm a fish taco all the time.
You weren't listening. You weren't watching him when he did it. He just, he went off and did it on his own. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I'm forced to admit that it probably is a fish taco.
Well, it's only on its hands and knees for about a minute before it starts to move towards the edge of the pyramid that it came up on, and then clambers out of sight.
Blast.
Oh, I thought we were taking shots.
Well, we were, but someone had to be a party pooper.
Well, looks like we'll have some action tonight then.
All right, so
Most
if
definitely.
Do you happen to have another rifle? Let me see if it's... it might not be worth it.
Well, don't worry, Mr. Whitmire. You can use this one tonight. This close to the temple, I feel it's time we bust out the bigger weaponry.
Thank you.
Also, I guess we'll probably be handing out some of the dynamite tonight. Let's get to that trail.
All right, so once you get on the path on the shoulder of this mountain, that's when we're going to need a skill check to get those animals down. So the skills that I would take would be ride or animal handling or survival. Now, you have Marco along just for that reason if you want to leave it up to him to help guide your animals down.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer that. That's what he's there for.
All right, so give me, we'll have you do it on his behalf. Charles, just give me a D100 roll.
I don't even have any of those skills.
Yeah, I'm not seeing those either.
They're like languages. You got to fill them out.
Yeah, I don't even have them.
You know, I had it, but then I was like, no, like I'm paid to navigate.
What is the that rifle?
It's a 30-06, 2d6 plus 4, 5-round internal numbering.
All right, so Marco gets at the head of the group, and, starts to pick out the best, surest footing along this path, and you guys snake your way down the mountain towards the plateau.
Okay. I'll still be leading.
Okay.
Okay, just to make sure, like...
With him, yeah.
Well, I'll be at the head going down the trail, because I don't want him in front in case we need to shoot anything coming up the trail.
Oh, okay.
Is what I'm saying.
Well, he kind of has to jump ahead of you a little bit because he's picking the sure-footed path. Well, never mind. He's doing it for the animals. So, yeah, he can stay behind you and you go ahead. So as you guys approach, you start to smell what smells like tainted meat just filling the air. And you see a lot of flies buzzing about, which is unusual considering how cold it gets. And you see a lot of dead, fly carcasses. But if I can get a natural world roll from everybody.
No, I have it. There it is. Oh.
Natural world?
Mm-hmm. 110 yards.
Consider lucking it, but my luck is extremely precious at this point.
Malfunction.
So you're just not sure what type of fly is buzzing about. And they get thicker as you approach.
And it's colder than we would expect flies to be around.
Right. They wouldn't live very long. And you see evidence of the fact that they're not living very long as the ground is carpeted with their dead carcasses.
I'm going to take a handkerchief and cover my nose and mouth. And
Yeah, same here.
Okay. And Charles, you come up on that wall with the gate and you can pick out some detail on the wall. This is what it looks like. And as you approach, you're hearing this sort of piping sound like wind going through, a chime or something like that. And so you see there's these faces on these walls, like what you'd seen in that photograph at Tiwanaku, but the mouths are distended and open, and there's a hole through them, and that seems to be where this piping sound is coming from.
Yeah, I'll curse Mr. Merriweather under my breath and continue on. This ain't good. This ain't good.
Okay. Let me move you guys up here. So, night is about to fall as you come onto the site. What's your course of action, Charles?
All right. If we're able to, standard stuff, we're going to put up a ring, essentially, around the campfire of our tents and whatnot. Mules and pack animals are going to be inside that ring. We're going to have some simple tripwire type stuff, hopefully just slow something down. We're going to pass out dynamite. The elephant gun's coming out of the case. The 30-06 is being traded to Mr. Whitmire. 3 people on watch. And we're just going to pray till morning.
Okay, so we'll just put you on the inside. There's really the immediately past the gate. You guys actually just barely get the mules under the gate. You would have to do a little digging to get it to its normal size. But with night falling, you can't see very much of the structure, although you sense that it's out there and that, the being down on this plateau, the wind has a strange habit of just constantly blowing through here and making that sound through the stone figureheads in the wall.
so now that we're actually in here, do we see signs of much travel?
No, not much.
But
You do see,
but some.
yeah, some boot prints in the silt by the gate.
And once we got up close to that gate, did it look like the sun gate in the image that we had?
Yeah, on the inside of it, if you hold up your lantern, you can make the details of a figure holding the 2 staves with the snake, the headdress with many snakes coming out of it.
Okay.
Is this trail up or down that we took?
So you guys were going down to reach the plateau.
Thank you.
So yeah, we're at an archaeological site now, so I've kind of forgotten about the mortal danger that we're in, and I'm making notes in my journal and studying the carvings and any symbols that I can find.
Well, obviously, you're not going to be being able to get very much detail in darkness about the rest of the site. So yeah, you saw that the wall detail of what that looks like. There's that staff god, as it was described on the sun gate, is also on this gate. And you guys set up your watch order and your tents, and you sleep or get what rest you can. and nothing to cost you in the night.
I think this probably bothers Charles more than if he had been attacked.
And the day breaks. What do you guys want to do?
So Lance has been kind of wrestling with something
Okay.
for the entire day. But over breakfast, I'm going to gather everyone together and say, well, there's something that I must tell you all that may become relevant very soon. And I'll pull out the warding artifact out of my bag and I'll unroll it. I'll try not to touch it as much as possible. But I'll say, I believe that this came from this temple, and it may be a part of the warding that they had spoken about being removed. Furthermore, James and I have been in possession of what I believe could be the part of the mirrored warding that had been removed. James?
I don't know what you're talking about. 4 rounds.
2 rounds.
No.
From an elephant.
Yeah, I'll go back to my tent and I'll retrieve it, the mask, but very disappointed in you.
That's okay.
Might not be for long.
But while he's going to get it, I'll tell them the story of what happened when we looked into the mask, that I saw in other times, other places, that I was other people for a short time, and that there was some sort of connection to a dark entity that presented itself as Father.
So, you've communicated with this thing?
It spoke to me in my mind, yes. It may have been a delusion. I don't know exactly what happened, but it called itself Father long before Mendoza had even mentioned the name.
For Jackson's part, he finishes packing the bowl of his pipe and he lights it up and he just says Pascal's wager and he puffs at it. But this is news to me. Where did you reveal where you found the section?
The warding that I have here, we found at the university. I had found it in a list of ancient artifacts, and when we found the doctor down in the storage room, we had an opportunity to bring it along with us, and to my shame, my better judgment was overcome by my desire to see what mysteries may lie within, and we took it with us.
In the mask?
I'm afraid I don't know where the mask came from. James
So I'll stick
procured
with
it.
my original story, is that I happened to purchase it on the streets in Lima. And the character was pretty shady looking, but that's who I usually deal with.
Well, very likely could have been the cult attempting to infiltrate us through whatever means, perhaps.
Perhaps, but if somebody else dares look into the mirror, I won't look again.
What is it? Is a power roll to trigger it?
I'll let them know. I've been looking into this thing quite often, and
I'm okay.
I've never encountered this Father. As I keep saying the same thing over and over again, and I'll describe the man painting.
Well, maybe it reveals your heart's desires.
Mr.
So-
Daddy issues over there.
Or try and catch his lie.
Do you guys want to... well, you've heard it before.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to do anything. We can leave it to role-playing, or we can do a roll if you want.
I'd be fine doing the role-playing route.
He's never said anything about his connection to Father, but
Yeah. It was, that happened when we were on the trail. It was after
that was
me and
after.
you stopped holding counsel about that stuff. It was,
it was after I had told you that you probably shouldn't look into it anymore.
Well, this is from Jackson. What does the rational mind think about this? What's the good doctor say?
Well,
This part's news to me, too.
right, I can't speak to that, but as for the effects of looking into the mask, the easiest and most likely answer is that it's there's some residue of a hallucinogenic substance on it.
Perhaps you should investigate.
I'm sure Mr. Stanton has come across many of those in the area of the world that you've done most of your work in. There's
Indeed,
certain
I have.
frogs. There's
Because I feel that it's like motion pictures, right? It's a trick. It's
there
a
need
trick
not.
of light, and
There's unlikely to be any
I'm
sort
going
of
to take it home and sell it.
mythical or magical occurrence taking place here.
I tend to agree for the most part. That said, as the saying goes, this is all well above my pay grade. I'm only here to ensure that artifacts are given to Mr. Merriweather. That said,
And I'm here to make sure that they get transported there. So,
What do
that's
you
all.
think this stuff means, Mr. Monroe?
Well, given all of the things that we have seen thus far, from the twisted visage of the Karisiri to some of the other things that I've seen within the mask, I have no choice but to believe all of it. That there is a dark entity waiting beneath to be released, that these Karisiri are its servants, and that somehow that mask was a gateway that connected me between this planet and whatever realm this dark god resides in now.
pure hogwash.
I must say, I'm quite surprised at you, Mr. Monroe. But no doubt these Pishtako believe that they have some dark entity named Father and are working towards ends that they've imagined in their own mind.
The reality is that this mask and that seal belong to Mr. Merriweather.
I will not give this back.
Well,
I just recommend you don't put it back on your face because the hallucinogenic substance that I no doubt is on it.
Oh, you don't put it on your face. You just look
seal.
within in the mask, and this seal should be replaced within the whatever is keeping this dark god from entering our world.
Well, as a doctor, I must recommend you not handle it with bare hands.
Oh, I won't.
Well, at the very least, we probably should communicate if we find anything else of the nature of what you two have discovered, when we find it.
as I'll be more than happy to let you guys know of any other items or artifacts that I find, but I was sent here to do a job, and anything that I do find is gonna go back.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, that makes sense. Perhaps if, as you have described, the mask is not giving you visions or speaking to you in some way, that might have been something we all wanted to know. I'm not being,
It was a trinket picked up on the streets. I mean, who?
I'm going to use my
expected
power on
that
him.
This would have been.
Okay, what are you going to try to do?
I'm going to force him to tell the truth.
Can he with that seal on him?
I don't have it on me right now.
It is still repressing it. You would have to take a few steps back, but yeah, you could
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you wanted to.
I'll take a few steps back.
Tell
and
the truth.
yeah.
All right.
And I'll point at him and command him to tell the truth.
1 second here. Well, first we can do power versus power roll. So
You're just
both of
making
you throw
everything
yours.
so much harder for me, guys.
Power.
Oh, yeah. Hard fail.
yeah, so for those of you outside of the know, which is everybody, suddenly
Does he do this the same way that you commanded that girl in the alley?
It
Or
doesn't really have any
there's
visual.
no visible effect.
Yeah, it's just me.
well, I mean, you proclaimed in the name of Father.
I think
No,
I think that
name
was
of the
more on a role play thing
Yeah.
right there
Yeah.
than what it's actually.
Okay, so yeah, that darkness, you reach out with your mind, for lack of a better word, to try to influence his. But, part of what's kind of eroding your sanity when you do this is there's a temporary blending of the two wills. And you realize that you're doing something, tantamount to a rape, in the sense that you're forcing your will on his mind, and that leaves you with an icky feeling after you do it. But he rebuffs your attempts, and you don't really notice anything happening. It could be that you were just already set up to oppose everybody in the pursuit of your job. So when he tries to do this, it just slides off you. But you lose 5 magic points and 1d3 sanity points.
Well, I believe we're wasting daylight, and if we have any business in the temple, we need to get on with it. This little discussion can wait.
You can, of course, try again, Mr. Monroe.
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right. So then you guys just want to spread out and walk the grounds, or is there anything specific? I guess we'll start with
So I'm going to keep that mask on me at this point.
at
Though.
all times.
Yeah.
I'm going to have Marco and Ray set up that machine gun facing
Okay.
towards the temple,
All right.
and they are going to, try to be
Just
on
keep
alert.
an eye out.
Out.
I'm going to ask Jackson to carry the warding.
Oh, okay.
He's kind of the only one I trust right now.
Yeah. So you hand it off to him, and he just holds it under his arm as you guys travel around, looking over this site.
And I'll apologize to him about not telling him sooner.
Well, as an author, I understand the need to keep secrets. Usually, mortal threat is not on the line when I'm, writing a book, and I'm keeping secrets so I don't lose the selling point of what I'm doing. But, I forgive you. It happens.
But, my friend, keep that close. I have reason to believe that it may prevent some of the darker powers that the Kari Siri possess, and it may protect you, partially from the engravings and inscriptions on it in the Aklo, and part of it just from the reactions I've seen.
I will keep that in mind. So let's get a group luck roll.
So
Who's the worst?
We're inside the wall now?
Yeah. You've camped inside of it.
Luck?
Who's got the worst luck?
Got a
56.
30?
22.
What's
Oh,
your-
59.
Give us a luck roll.
Yes. That fits with most of my other roles the last few days.
All right. So as you are talking with Jackson there and walking along, you guys just walk over what looks like a berm, just a low little mountain of dirt. And suddenly, what you thought was solid ground gives way underneath your feet, Mr. Monroe. And you fall into a dark tunnel. And as you land, you hear a sharp crack
Uh-oh.
and a jolt of pain up your leg. And that is where we'll end tonight.
Stuck the landing.
Quick, bury him.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, man.
Paid.
This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.